So many emotions. Hello, all my holomaniacs out there. Welcome back to the channel. It's so great to see you again. So we're here talking Avengers now. Avengers Endgame. Now, oh my gosh, guys. I'm still trying to process it. I saw it yesterday from when I'm filming this, and I'm just like, ugh. I'm glad I didn't do it like the second I got back, because I just had to think on this, because I walked away just kind of speechless, just like, what did I just see? What was this? What was this? So I've had to sometimes sit down, think through it, and figure it out, and think I know where I stand on this movie, because I actually have some mixed feelings about it. I mean, the whole thing is just an emotional roller coaster, but there's a lot of mixed feelings. And I also couldn't decide whether or not to do a spoiler review or a not spoiler review, so here's how it's going to go. The first half of this is going to be spoiler free, so if you just want to get my overall thoughts on the movie, you can go there. And then later I will go into more specifics in the spoiler territory, so if you haven't seen it, I will let you know where to stop and to go away, because I didn't have this movie spoiled for me, and I can say as someone who had nothing spoiled on them, it really changed the overall experience, because I've talked to people who did have it spoiled and it didn't turn out the same. So trust me, you don't want spoilers, so don't go there. Okay, so for the spoiler free part, overall I loved it. I mean, honestly, did you expect me to say anything else? There are parts that I actually didn't really like as much as I did. I think because I just went in with the wrong mentality. Because Infinity War is probably my favorite Marvel movie ever now. It was Ragnarok, but then Infinity War. Infinity War is just so good. Just because Infinity War, the way it worked was just every second it just kept elevating and elevating and building and building and building and building until the end. You're just like, oh my gosh, you're going to keep this going in Endgame, right? And then they kind of didn't. Well, if you've seen Infinity War, you kind of just leave off where you start and you're like, oh, yeah. Kind of, where do we go from here kind of moment. So yeah, it's definitely not like thrilling from the get-go. You have to, it kind of lulls for a while. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean it in a bad way. I'm not saying that it was bad because of that. It just wasn't what I expected. I mean, they did good stuff with the lull. It's just, I didn't want the lull at all. I wanted you guys to just start back up and get me revved up to like 90, and I'm like, let's go to like 200, let's do this! But, you know, they didn't really do it that way. So just, it helped. I kind of wished I knew that going in, that it was just going to be a little calmer when you first get started. So the intro is pretty good. They do a good job of like reestablishing everybody and all that jazz, and they present the idea of what they're going to do in the middle, and I'm going to be honest, I think the middle is where the movie really suffers. And still, it didn't do it poorly, it's just the whole thing that they're doing, it just kind of feels like it's been done before. It's like we've seen the premise that they go through before. I will give them this, they add new stuff, they make it different, they make it their own, and that's why I'm not too mad at it. And I'm like, okay, you know what, I will buy it. Kind of weird, but you know, I'll go with it. I'll go with it. Not exactly what I had in mind, but you know, we'll go with it. And then the middle is kind of just a massive fan service moment, which is not bad. I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying I kind of hoped they would have done something else to make it completely its own, while still calling back other films. But I felt what they did was a little too much on the head, but then again, I guess this could be just considered a nitpick. Overall, these aren't the biggest problems in the world. This isn't making me say, oh, well, because all of this stuff happened in the first bit, it's now a bad movie. No, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's just, I felt like it could have been better. But then we've got the last third of the movie. The last bit. And guys, I gotta tell you, this last third is probably my favorite thing that has ever happened in Marvel ever. This whole ending. From, not to give anything away, this only makes sense if you've seen the movie, but the Hawkeye Tunnel, from there on, is probably some of the best stuff I've ever seen in Marvel ever. And it's just all the feels, everything, it's just, that third bit is worth the price of admission alone. So, you will have an amazing time, especially if you've been following all these films. It is a great way to end it. I'm extremely satisfied. I thought the beginning needed some help, but the end was so great, I'm willing to let all that go. Oh, it's so good. You can tell that the entire movie that they're making is for that last third. All the stuff that they're doing previously is more or less to set this up. And there's just not a whole lot of tension there, which was kind of what bugged me. But when we get there, I'm just like, it was worth it! Everything was worth it! Because that last third, it was just too good. It was too good! I wanted to stand up and cheer during parts. I wanted to yell. I wanted to scream. I was like, ah! This is amazing! Yeah, it took us a while to get there, but once we got there, I was in. I was in! The first bits weren't terrible. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the first parts were terrible. It's just they were severely underwhelming by what I was thinking. Maybe I just overhyped it in my head, so it could just be a me thing. But yeah, that last bit. Oh, the last bit. Oh, let's just say I was at the gym this morning and I had to go run, and I was so hyped still from that last bit that I actually got music from the movie and was running to it on the treadmill, and I was just like, yes! I got all hyped and I'm like, I could run a marathon listening to this. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's the vague way to talk about this. It was actually kind of hard because I'm like, hey, I want to talk details, but I can't. So this is where the non-spoiler part ends. So from here on out, we're talking spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, click away now. Just get out now while you still can. Are you gone? Are you gone? Oh, guys, Tony! Okay, so I went into this movie saying I knew somebody was gonna die, at least one person. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be Captain America. But we're going into this thing and I'm just like, as long as Thor and Hulk don't die, I'll be good. Because they're my favorites and I'm like, y'all can't die. Just don't die. I don't care if y'all stop being in the movies. Just don't die. And, yeah, we're in spoiler territory, I can say it, Tony does die. And it was, they handled that very, 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 very well. And I was honestly like, okay, that was, like, really earned. I feel like Iron Man, like, got, like, a really noble death. I feel like they did a really good job with that. And I love what they did with Captain America, too. He didn't quite die, but you know he's done. And you know he don't have much longer to live, either. I thought what they did with him was great. I will say this, though. I do have some issues what they did with Hulk and Thor. Maybe it's because they are my favorites, but I had a couple issues what they did. First of all, Hulk. Hulk is my absolute favorite superhero, and I actually liked what they did with him. I liked the fact that he was a hybrid of the two, where he looked like the Hulk, but spoke and had the mind of Bruce Banner. I almost called him Mark Ruffalo. So it's like, no, that's not how it works. I actually really liked that. I wish we'd gotten some more background information on how this happened. I mean, I know he explained it in a sentence, but I'm like, I would have liked to have seen something like this, because, I mean, I just wanted more of that. And I was happy to see that Hulk got a lot more screen time. But, yeah, I think it would have been fun to see that happen. But, you know, that's just kind of me wanting more. Thor is the one that really kind of bugged me. Now, not even the fact that he got depressed and he, like, overate and got a belly and did all that. That's not the part that I'm mad at. The part that I'm mad at with this one is with Thor, I just didn't think his character was handled very well. I mean, I'm all up for the going depressed, but I don't think Thor would be the goofy guy when he's depressed. I feel like he would be the shut everybody away from the world and, like, just be the dark, brooding guy. Because he seems light on the outside, but then when something goes wrong, I see him being, like, the dark guy. Like, you see him, like, they go to the door, he just cracks it open and goes like, leave me alone. He can still be big and still drinking beer and everything, but him just goofing off playing video games. Oh, hey, great to see you all. Look at my big Billy now. All right, let's do this. I'm like, I get the emotional traumatized part, but I don't feel that you're emotionally traumatized. I mean, yeah, I know, like, Ragnarok was a much goofier film with him. I get that. But when something emotional happened to Thor, Like, he's going through an emotional turmoil. He's not cracking jokes anymore. Like, whenever he's battling up with, his sister, I forgot her name, and, like, she takes out his eye and does all that, he's not sitting there cracking jokes anymore. He does a little bit afterwards, and other people are cracking jokes, but he's not. So it feels weird that that's what he's doing. And then later, like, whenever they're doing the time travel, which I'm gonna get to time travel in a bit, and he, like, sees his mom, and then he starts like goofy crying. Like, I understand if he was like doing a legit cry that was just like, you don't know what I've been through. You know, something more serious, I would have been a lot more okay with the direction they took him. Because I see Thor being able to do something like that. It's just, I felt like they played him too goofy. But once again, I can look past this. Because that last Thor's so good. We're getting there. And honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole time travel bit. You know, I just kind of felt like that was a cop-out thing. I'm like, y'all could have done so many cool things with this. Y'all have, like, the Infinity Stones work with. You have all of these ways you can do stuff, and y'all go with time travel. I'm like, it just seems kind of by the numbers, and I'm like, oh, really? Y'all, it's Avengers. We could do something really big and huge. And we're just gonna go with the time travel route. Alright. They even, like, listed off every movie that's done this, and I'm like, yes! Why are we doing this? And then as we're going through all the different movies again, I'm like, this is cool, but, yo, I still would rather have seen something new. Maybe this is just me, but honestly, and I don't think this is just nitpicking. I feel like this is like, no, we could have done something even bigger, y'all. But I will give them this, even though I don't like the direction of the time travel, even though I think that it was kind of cliched and was kind of just a cop-out, they did something really cool with it, and because of that, I'll give them a pass for it. So I won't really hold that against them too much. I'll hold it against them enough because it did affect my overall viewing of it, but they did something original with it, something I didn't see coming, and I like the direction that that went. But that end, y'all. That end, y'all. Oh, that end. When the fighting with Thanos right off the bat, right after he comes and explodes the Avengers Center. And then, like, Iron Man goes into it, Hulk goes into it, Thor goes into it, Captain America goes into it. Then, like, you think you're all about to lose, and then, like, on your left, and then, boom, everybody shows up. You're like, yeah! Woo! I was like, I wanted to stand up in my seat and just scream, just, ah! And then, of course, just the fight. The fight was just beautiful. The fight was just amazing. I have nothing that I don't like about that. Except I did think it was a little convenient how Tony was able to get the stones off of Thanos' gauntlet. But I'm willing to let that go. I'm willing to let that go because everything else is just so good. It's just so good. Everybody got great endings, except I would have liked to have seen where Hulk's going after this, because they don't really say. They say what Thor's doing, they say what Captain America, obviously Iron Man died, all this stuff. I'm like, they gave them all good endings, but Hulk, we don't really know what's going on with him. But yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that this whole ride is over. Like, I remember I was there in the theaters watching Iron Man when it first came out, having no clue what was going on, because unlike a lot of the superhero fans out there now, I have never read a single comic book in my entire life. I did not grow up with the TV shows. I did not do any of that. My only experience with the superhero genre prior to these movies was The Incredibles. And I knew of them, but I never watched any movies. I never watched any of the shows. I never did any of that until these movies and the Christopher Nolan Batmans. So I was relatively late into the superhero game, and then I got this invested into it. And I will admit, I didn't get invested off the bat. It wasn't until about the Avengers movie came out that I really sunk in, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I mean, take it for what you will. I am not a die-hard superhero fan at the point where I know what was really supposed to happen. I have no clue. I don't know anything about the original comics. I know nothing. So this is just a guy who really liked it. So, yeah. You can take my word for it and you do whatever you want with that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also remember, I love you 3,000. Bye! Tony. Tony!